I want to start by introducing my website real quick. This is mryork.org, and if you look under photography, step one is actually this video right here that I recorded last year. Now, what I tried to do was record a video series for all my students so that if anybody was absent, they missed a day, they could just go online and check it out. But it's also good for anybody that's trying to learn how to use a camera. Step one, if you watch the video, which I'll just go over real quick, is to make sure that you're holding the camera correctly, which I still see a lot of people making mistakes on because they see or they saw something one time and what they're doing doesn't necessarily make any sense. So I'm going to be using my camera. I have a Canon 80D that I purchased a couple years ago, and it's pretty much my favorite camera because I shoot video and still pictures all the time. I use the Peak Design system because I just like it. I think it works really well. They're a company out of San Francisco. They did a Kickstarter campaign years ago, and now they have tons of products, and their stuff is featured on Amazon, so you can check out Peak Design. I'm not sponsored by them, so if you want to. This is the Canon 80D. The difference between this and your camera is that it has a dual pixel autofocus system for shooting video. That's the biggest difference. The other difference is the focus points on it. Yours has 9. This one has like 45. So much more accurate, much more true color, better white balance. It's just an all-around better camera. Your camera's about $300, $400. This one goes for about $1,100. So a little bit of a difference. However, same lens. This is an 18 to 135, basically like a kit lens, but this lens is really good, and a lot of you guys have it too, and it's because it's super decent. When you guys pick up a camera, I'm sorry for those of you that are left-handed, cameras are all right-handed. That's just how the world works. Nobody's making left-handed cameras. So you're going to hold on to it with your right hand right here. Everybody right here, what do you call this button? Everybody, go ahead, come on. What's the black button right by your finger? Ooh, so this is lesson 1. This is called the shutter button. Everybody say shutter button. Thank you. Please write it down if you don't know it. And make sure you don't forget it. Left hand. I've been trying to figure out a way to convince people or get them to remember how to put their hand to hold the lens. And the only thing I can think of is give me some money. Everybody go like that. Can I have some money? And then put it right underneath the lens. Okay? What you don't want to do is put your hand like this. And what you don't want to do is take portraits like this. So no chicken wings, right? And none of this. What you want to do is keep yourself in tight, make yourself a tripod. That's the whole point. If you watch our step 1 video, it also goes into if your camera doesn't focus, what are you going to do? What happens if your camera doesn't focus right? Anybody know? Yearbook?
Press down the button.
Press down which button?
The shutter button.
The shutter button that we just learned about. Isn't that fun? See? If you hold it down halfway, it will autofocus. Sometimes when we're shooting video, all of our cameras are touch screens, and you can usually just touch on the subject that you want in focus. But sometimes it just doesn't work, especially with our mirrorless cameras that we use a lot. We almost never take still pictures with these. We almost always use these for video. And every once in a while, it just doesn't work. So if you're pushing on the touch screen doesn't work, you hold the shutter button down halfway and you're good to go. That's basically step 1. There's not a whole lot else that I cover in that video, but if for some reason somebody was absent or you felt like you wanted to watch the whole thing, or if you just like listening to me talk in my Batman shirt, there it is. Down below that, I have a whole bunch of videos from the Gate series that I did last year. They're horrible. They're almost virtually unwatchable. But they are there as we kind of did this for the first time. If you've ever taught anything more than once, the 15th time is always the best one, right? So if you haven't taught something very often, which is I haven't had a chance to do because when you're teaching photography, you really want a class full of people that have a camera in their hand. I mean, that's really the way to do it, and we've never had that much equipment. So this is the first time I've had this many people at this campus with like this. Usually if I do this, I do it for adults, and they walk in with their cameras. Typically they'll have DSLRs, mirrorless, crossover cameras, point and shoots, just about everything. When we did it with Gate, because there were only 12 students, we were able to get everybody a camera. Some kids brought in their own, and it worked out pretty well, but I'm not really convinced that this video series is that great. This was a starting point, and this is what we're trying to redo. And hopefully we'll get some of that done today. If you look at my website, there's a lot of resources. This is all underneath photography. And I'm going to be referring back to some of these things on here. I've put them in your presentation. I've also got some articles, some videos, all kinds of things that are about a step above from where we're at. There are some cool pictures, like the difference between your cell phone, a APS-C or crop censored camera, a full frame camera, and just looking at the comparison between those. Those are kind of fun, and there's also an article about sensor size if you're really interested in that technically. The only thing I'm trying to convince you of is that your cell phone has a really, really, really tiny sensor, especially when compared to our other DSLR cameras. These two cameras actually have the same size sensor, believe it or not, which is why people are so excited about mirrorless cameras. Okay, that was a couple of minutes. That was like 5 or 6 minutes. How's everybody doing? You okay? What did we learn so far? Okay, so that was the big takeaway, and hopefully you learned how to hold a camera if you didn't already know how to do it. Now, our students don't usually hold cameras because we put them on tripods all the time. If you're filming video, you want to have a tripod. But let's get and go to the presentation.